Hello there, this is my review of Star Wars The Force Awakens. As you probably see, the background's different from normal because it's a Christmas week, and I'm not going to put a lot of stuff up for Christmas week. So, you've got a plain background for a change. Okay, my feelings of Force Awakens is it's a good film, but not a great one. It's one of those weird ones where I like 3/4 of it, and the last quarter, there's a quarter of it dealing with the villains that I really can't stand, but I'll get to that. There will be spoilers here if you haven't seen the film, so see the film first, because it's a waste of time listening to this if you haven't seen the film. Okay, let's start with the good stuff first. The new cast members are all great. They're either a new actress like Daisy Ridley, or they're established actors who are on their way up, like John Boyega or Oscar Isaac. They're all great. They're all great additions to the story. The characters work. That's really the big success of the film is in these characters because they're fresh, they're new, they've got a lot going for them. The returning actors, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and the Wookiee. Can't really call an actor. He moves around a lot. That's it. They're fine. I mean, Harrison Ford's back as Han Solo. He seems to be enjoying himself. Carrie Fisher doesn't have that much to do, and she's never that great an actress, so they kind of limit what she has to do. Mark Hamill turns up for a few minutes, but we'll get to that later on. But generally, the acting's all good. The characterization's all very specific, very much to the point. They pretty much go to keeping everything in a shorthand, establishing through little details what the characters are, establishing through interactions, how the characters see the world. It's very much classy writing. They brought Lawrence Kasdan in to do it, along with J.J. Abrams, and he's a good writer, so a lot of this stuff is very well developed, and you see a lot of interaction, a lot of development that happens very subtly, so all that's great. You can tell they've got a good writer doing this. Definitely better writing than the prequels had. I mean, that's obvious. But the problem with the writing is, for plot, they really did miss George Lucas. Because the plot is where the problems start. Because it's a remake of Star Wars, but it's not very specific. And there's lots of areas where, even if you could get George Lucas in and say you can't have tons of speeches going on and on about something, he would be more. His stuff films to be more specific about who's doing what, why, where. And you saw that in the original trilogy as well, where everything was very specific. You got details very clearly of why someone connects to here, there, everywhere. Everything's connected in a clear way. And this one, everything's connected, and they show how everything's connected in a really well written way. But a lot of the background details don't seem to have been worked out to the same degrees they might have been. So I mean, I think it's something you'll spot more in further viewings, but there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been thought out that well. Like, for example, you don't really know who the villains actually are, how big they are, how much space. They're the First Order, they came from the Empire, they're in the Empire, they think the Empire's work hasn't been done properly, they want to expand again, but you have no idea how big they are. At some points in the film, it seems that they've taken over whole solar systems. Other points, they seem to be a few ships. That's never clarified, and it really causes problems. There's also the copied, so just basically copies of the Empire. All the actors basically doing imitations of other actors, and that causes problems because they're not as scary as other actors were in the originals. They're just doing imitations. So they're basically copycats. That's all they are. So it means the villains aren't as clear as they should be, and also the supposed good guys of the Resistance. They've established that they're part of the New Republic, and they're working for the New Republic, but it's not a public. It's not been something that is talked about a lot. That the Republic is actually backing them, but that's never that clear how well they're backed, how big they are. You just don't get the impression of there seem to be not that many people there. And it seems to be very much like a splinter organisation. But it's just not clear how much people have got. And like halfway through the film, the new Death Star blows up a planet that could be Coruscant, which is the main planet of the galaxy. So if the new Empire blew this planet up, wouldn't all the military from the new Empire suddenly go at the basically go at the villains? But instead you've just got these few pilots, and it's like, that stuff doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's fun. The film's fun enough. I mean, if you just ignore that stuff, it's fine. It's enjoyable. That's great. But I mean, when I was watching it, I was losing a lot of suspension of disbelief because those things weren't clear. What the specifics of that universe wasn't always clear, and also the Death Star wasn't clear either, because a new Death Star that's now part of a planet. But the problem is, it's not clear how it works, because apparently it sucks energy from a sun and takes all the energy from the sun, because the sun just goes dark just to shoot once. So does this planet move around, or is it? I don't know what does it actually do, because it seems to just suck everything out of the sun and fire. So how does it recharge beyond once? Because it charges and recharges again. We're not quite sure how it recharges unless it's moving around, but it's actually a planet where people can breathe. There's oxygen on the planet, and that just doesn't make sense. They don't explain it. And also, if a planet can absorb all of a sun, the way they seem to be suggesting, the planet would just burn up. Like, they don't actually explain it's only part of the sun, or it's only part of the sun's energy that they're taking away, or whatever, because the sun goes dark. So all those things aren't explained. Everything's just done for an effect. So that's the biggest bugbear I've got with the film, is basically a lot of stuff hasn't been thought of properly. Everything's just there and it's not really clear. But then again, that's not really what you're looking for in a Star Wars film anyway. It's just that I lost suspension of disbelief at times because what they were doing was so stupid that, or so unclear, that you were thinking too much about it. And that's a problem in a film, when you're thinking, this doesn't add up for me. But that's the downside of the film, is that there's things like that happen. The upside is the characters, is watching them interact. In the first section, you see poor Dameron, who's Oscar Isaac, trying to find clues to find out where Luke Skywalker is. Because one of the overarching plots is find Luke Skywalker, because they want to restart the Jedi, because there's now new Sith or new villains, dark side users. And he gets caught and rescued by Finn, who's a stormtrooper who realises he's in the wrong side. And eventually it leads to them hooking up with Rey, who's been abandoned and left on a planet, and who's a Force user. And basically they're on the run, trying to escape from the new First Order troops, trying to get off the planet and trying to get this robot with the information back to Resistance so they can actually find Luke Skywalker. So that's the story. It's basically Star Wars again. They need this information taken to the Rebellion in Star Wars, now it's the Resistance, but the same plot. It's a simple plot though, so they can use it to get from A to B and have the characterization. So you get a lot of details, so you see like different partnerships evolving all the time. So you see Poe with Finn, then you see Finn with Rey, then Finn and Rey hook up with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Then basically they find information about the Force and Luke, and they meet up with the Resistance, and then Rey gets captured and they want to rescue her, but she's already rescued herself, and the final confrontation against the new Death Star. And that's basically the plot. And it was done a lot better in Star Wars. This one, the characterization is always fun. They set the world up so well, and there's always these details. Like, the details they set up make you feel like you're in a world are there. That's really well done. It's just if you look into any of the details too closely in the bigger plot, the things start to fall apart. But the atmosphere is great. I mean, the other parts of the desert planet echo Star Wars, and it's But it's good because it's new characters, new interactions. So you see history repeating itself, but it's not exactly the same. So each interaction is slightly different. So when you meet up with Han Solo, he's 30 years older and he's a lot more regrets and things haven't worked out the way you expected. And he's basically a guy who's living on his legend. He's a legend, but no one's quite sure if the stories are real or not. And no one really respects him anymore, but he's still Han Solo. And once he realises he needs to help out them find Luke, he basically mans up and goes back into the Han Solo business, which is shooting at people and having smart comments. So there's lots of stuff like that that's really nicely done. You see a lot of history in Harrison Ford's face, the way the interactions go, that always informs a lot of it. He's a guy now who has to tell him about the past, and he's got the Alec Guinness part in this film, and basically also he dies at the end as well. And he's also the guy who has regrets because a lot of the problems are his fault, because the main villain, Kylo Ren, is his son who turned to the dark side. So he's a lot of regrets, but he's still trying to help the next generation move on. So that's really nicely done. You see how he's fallen back into old ways of being a smuggler, and it allows the film to show us the fun Han Solo side where I'm dealing with people and always being on edge because all his plans are falling apart. So there's all these details that always work. So that's all great. I mean, you could make a whole movie just about that, and it'd be fun. And all the scenes really work well, but you wish there were just those things could have supported the movie, but you've got a Death Star in it, and it ends up meaning when you're just into the movie and really enjoying it, you have to go back to the main plot, and the main plot is not as interesting as the character stuff, or the world building, or the actual mystery of what happened to Luke. That's the thing that they start off as, and that's the thing that grabs you throughout the movie, is you want to know what happened to Luke. The Death Star stuff isn't as interesting because you've seen it before, and it's an old plot line. What happened to Luke's a new plot line, so you're much more interested because Luke's essentially new. He's not the new Darth Vader, and what he does, but he's the new Darth Vader, and you're going to find out more and more about his past over the last 30 years for the next few movies. And it's all about, a lot of the backstory is about, look, what's happened with him. The same way in the original trilogy, a lot of the backstory was about Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader, how Anakin fell through being told to look, how Anakin fell to the dark side and he's been told to his son, and all the rest of it. That seems to be where Luke is. He's got that kind of Anakin part now. So those things are all great. I mean, the other things that will keep you watching the film again and again is all those character stuff and watching new characters interact. All that stuff's just great because that's what J.J. Abrams was really good at, is those little funny details and the characters moving on. He's just not very good at villains. He's not very good at science stuff because the science in horse films is garbage usually. And the villains are always underdeveloped because he's more interested in the heroes. And the best part of the villains is Kylo Ren, who's a conflicted dark side user who still feels a good part of his personality coming through. He's trying to suppress it. That's interesting, but it means you don't actually have a scary villain because he's more interesting than scary. He's not scary at all. He's not the Vader who's scary. This guy's just interesting. So you're interested in what he does, but you're not actually intimidated by him because you know he's not. He doesn't really have the dark side stuff. Like when he goes to take down a village, he's got stormtroopers. I mean, if that was Vader had stormtroopers, but you knew he could take them out himself quite easily, and he would. Even when he was Anakin, he'd kill those sand people, and he could take out people quite easily on his own. And this guy's not quite the same way. So there's that kind of disadvantage to him. But the good thing is you see all 6 of the movies through this film. It's not just, I mean, there's more of an emphasis on the originals rather than the prequels, but there's subtle little inferences to the prequels too, because I mean, Kylo Ren is made to look like Anakin from the prequels in a hairstyle, and he's obviously based himself on that. When you see Luke at the end, you can see echoes of Anakin there as well. And in Rey, she's great with knowledge. She can fix anything instantly. The way they set up Anakin in the prequels, as well as they showed Luke doing it as well. But Anakin was the one they actually put more focus on if he could fix anything. So these little bits that come through. I mean, they're there if you want them. If you don't want them, it doesn't matter because you're still just enjoying the movie. It's just little things you notice as you go. Those things all work out. Finn's good because he doesn't really know. He was grabbed from childhood to be a stormtrooper and he's been programmed, and he just broke from the programming basically. So he's not quite sure of his past. He's trying to find his place in the world. He's just reacting most of the movie, which is funny because you watch a character who's trying to be brave but he doesn't quite know how to do it. But the fact he still basically whenever something happens, he still goes to help his friends, which is kind of the Han Solo thing where he's always trying to run away but he always comes back anyway to help his friends. So they'll get that kind of thing going with him. So it's always fun to watch. Interactions are always fun to watch. Him and Harrison Ford are an enjoyable pair. So I mean, all those things work. But I think I've still been a bit negative about the villain stuff. I should go into the stuff I really loved about the film, which was the little moments. Because the first 2/3 of the movie and the last few minutes have these wonderful little moments that's always made by a Star Wars fan. There's shots of crashed Star Destroyers, shots of Rey going through Star Destroyers from inside. There's a sequence where they fight TIE fighters and they're going through the crashed Star Destroyers, which is very much based on the Empire Strikes Back scene when they're escaping through the asteroid belt. It's very influenced by the shots of that, and it's a beautiful sequence. It really works wonderfully. There's lots of stuff in the Falcon that really shows a real love for the iconography and the characters. There's when you go back to the Resistance, there's a nostalgia for that, for these people fighting against tremendous odds. And even the Cantina kind of sequence, which is a bit overdone because they're trying too hard to be a Cantina sequence when they go to visit this wise woman who knows a lot about the past and end up finding Luke's lightsaber. The Luke's lightsaber fits brilliant, but the Cantina bit's trying too hard, but it's still great to see those details and see them. They really love Star Wars. And the actual bit where they actually find the lightsaber is great because all these voices and it gets darker and darker and you're watching Rey going towards the lightsaber and getting force flashes. And she reacts the way any normal person would, which is run away. And it's great, it's a wonderful sequence. So there's tons of great sequences in this film that make you think this is a 4-star film. It could have been a 5-star film to solve some of these problems. There's still so much to love in the film, even though there are major problems. So it makes you hopeful that they'll sort that stuff out, those little problems. I think they had to feel they had to be another Death Star because there wasn't any Death Star in the prequels and a lot of fans didn't like the prequels. So I think they felt they had to go really back to the originals and try and ape them a lot. And it worked for a lot of it when they showed a love for the universe, but it didn't work so well when they had to ape specific plot points which didn't fit. You didn't really need a new Death Star in this film. You just didn't need one. The plot didn't need one. It was in there for the fan service, and actually was a thing that was tripping up the film because they had to set it up, then had to blow it up at the end, and it was the bit where you could see the plot strained all the way through the film. But the other stuff was so good that it actually made up for it. So even though I've been negative with the villains, there's still so much to love with this film. It really does deliver on the characters and the details of the world. And it's actually a big tribute to George Lucas as well because they actually, a lot of the strengths of the stuff he invented, a lot of the strengths they bring up and pay homage to are stuff that he invented in the first few films. And then there was lots of details that he came up with in the first one that are very much the focus in this one. So I've heard some people say as if it's dissing him almost, and it's like, you watch this film and there's no way it's dissing George Lucas. It's actually a big tribute to George Lucas. This whole movie doesn't just tribute the ones everyone loves, it also has nice little nods to the ones that maybe a bit more controversial, but they still keep things from those prequels too in it as well. I mean, some people thought that blowing up Coruscant was a death, but I was just to show off how brutal the First Order was. It's a shame they didn't follow up on that later on and actually did something with it, but that actually, they did pay a lot of tribute to George Lucas. And the actual best moment of the film was actually in the last 2 minutes, which is always a good sign when Ray finally gets to Luke and is turning his look towards her. It's beautiful. It's really, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to go, wow, it's an amazing scene. So this film's full of amazing scenes. And so even though I've been bitching about the villains, that's just the kind of logical part of my brain saying, God, I wish this film could have been great rather than just good, because it was so close. And that's what's annoying, this film's so close and then fails at the last little bit. It's much more annoying than a film that's kind of mediocre. You know, it's this, with something to get really close to what it was going for and had one element that just didn't live up to what it was trying to do. That's when it hurts more when you're a film fan. And that's the problem this film is. The one bit didn't work, but the rest is great. I mean, some of the stuff's gorgeous. I think any Star Wars film, even the weakest ones, still have moments that are gorgeous and have great elements to them. So I try not to be cynical with Star Wars or any kind of fantasy kind of movie. They're not aimed to be like very sophisticated movies. They're aimed to be about your imagination, about things that affect you, and about hope and things like that. Really, it's all about the romance of space travel, the romance of the past, like the idea of nights. It's a romantic notion. So I'm hoping that people will get that after the film. I think they have. I think everyone seems to be really enjoying it. I there's some people like me who are actually the worst on it because there's something we don't like about it, but I think most people can see the really great points on it. And so that's my review of Force Awakens. It's good. Some bits are great, some bits are not so great, but it's still a very good film. I'm not sure what it ranks on the Star Wars movies because I'm not jumping to conclusions. I should see it a few more times where I know what it ranks in my list. It's not at the top, it's not at the bottom, it's in the middle somewhere at the moment, but that's just from one viewing. So hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next review.